The first-class cabin glowed with warm gold accents, champagne in crystal glasses, seats wide enough to swallow exhaustion whole. Yet row 1A felt tight with entitlement long before departure. Dr. Naomi Sinclair arrived early, black, poised, brilliant, wearing a tailored emerald suit that shone like quiet authority. Her hair in soft waves, posture straight but serene, carrying not luxury, but legacy, though no one looking would guess she owned the very airline beneath their feet. She handed her boarding pass to the attendant with a smile that didn't need permission to exist, but the woman barely glanced at the name, dismissing her with a wave toward economy as if wealth had a color hers did not match. Naomi corrected her politely, voice warm, even gentle. But kindness is often mistaken for permission to disrespect, and moments later, a white woman in pearls, Pamela Whitford, slipped into seat 1A with entitlement so thick it felt like perfume, placing her Louis Vuitton bag where Naomi's ticket said her body belonged. Naomi stood silent for a moment, watching the woman recline with audacity polished by generations of unchallenged comfort. Then she approached with grace and said, "Excuse me, that's my seat?" But Pamela laughed, a sharp, brittle sound, and replied loud enough for surrounding passengers to hear, "Sweetheart, first class isn't for everyone. Try business class if you can afford it." The air turned cold, shock flickering across nearby faces, not because they objected, but because they expected Naomi to shrink, apologize, disappear. Instead, she held calm like steel, repeating only, "My boarding pass says 1A." But Pamela snapped her fingers at the attendant, as if summoning obedience, announcing, "I'm a Platinum Elite member. Surely you don't expect me to move for her." The attendant hesitated, eyes darting not toward truth, but convenience, and she replied, "Ma'am, please take another seat while we sort this out," guiding Naomi toward row 7 like a problem instead of priority. The humiliation was quiet, but humiliation rarely needs volume to wound deeply. Naomi sat in the alternate seat, spine unbowed, dignity intact, though her heart carried the heaviness of too many moments like this, moments where excellence was dismissed because eyes saw race before achievement, identity before humanity. She opened her laptop not to distract, but to remind herself of power she never needed to flash to prove. And on the screen glowed documents that held the airline's future in fine print. Contracts worth millions, strategies shaping fleets and markets, plans she authored, decisions she commanded. Passengers whispered, curiosity tugging at the edges of silence, wondering who she was, wondering why she didn't fight louder, not realizing restraint is sometimes the sharpest blade. Pamela ordered champagne without remorse, stretching like a queen on a throne she never earned, while Naomi typed quietly, waiting, not for justice, but for timing. And timing, as history often proves, is a force no arrogance can outrun. 10 minutes later, the cabin crew prepared for departure when a man in a charcoal suit boarded, eyes scanning like radar, posture polished by responsibility, and when he reached Naomi, he paused, recognition softening into respect, so immediate it shifted the room's gravity. He bowed slightly and whispered, "Dr. Sinclair, the board is waiting for your announcement once we land. They're honored you're flying with us today." And suddenly whispers cracked like thunder. Pamela straightened, confused, pearl necklace trembling against her throat as she asked too brightly, "You know her?" The man turned slowly. "Know her? She's the founder and CEO of Skyrise Airlines, the reason any of us are here." Silence detonated. Pamela froze, color draining from privilege like blood cooling after shock. Passengers stared at Naomi with new eyes, eyes finally awake, but awakening often arrives too late to erase wrongdoing. Naomi stood calmly, grace woven into every step as she approached seat 1A once more. And Pamela stumbled to stand, stuttering apologies tangled in panic. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. If I'd known—" But Naomi raised a hand, not to comfort, but to interrupt the excuse history hears too often. "If I'd known your worth, I would have treated you like a person." She didn't need anger. she carried consequence. The attendant returned, trembling under accountability, offering Naomi her rightful seat with both hands as if returning stolen crown jewels. Naomi accepted, not with smugness, not with vengeance, but with quiet authority that filled the cabin like rising tide, inevitable and unhurried. Pamela remained standing, exposed, powerless, waiting to be told what she already feared. Entitlement had cost her dignity far more than a seat ever could. Naomi took her place in 1A, opened her laptop, and continued her work, not punishing with volume, but with visibility. A black woman succeeding in spaces built to assume she couldn't. Pamela was relocated to economy, where luxury couldn't shield her from reflection, and as the plane taxied, passengers whispered compassion where silence once lived, some apologizing, some unable to look her in the eyes. The moment stretched, like history remembering itself. If this story hit something inside you, if it stirred anger, pride, clarity, or truth, don't let the feeling fade after the last line. Comment below what stood out, what hurt, what taught you, what changed you. Share this video so someone who still judges by skin before character is forced to confront their reflection. Like this story if dignity matters more than status. Subscribe if you believe representation, justice, and accountability must be told loudly, boldly, and without apology. Your engagement is not algorithm decoration. It is activism in motion. Every share is a conversation started. Every comment is a witness recorded. Every subscriber becomes part of a voice that refuses to be silenced. Let this story live beyond the screen. Carry it, speak it, pass it. Because a world where equality is assumed, not earned, will only exist if we build it, loudly, relentlessly, together. When they reached cruising altitude, the captain made an unexpected announcement. Our CEO, Dr. Naomi Sinclair, is on board. We thank her for building the airline that carries us safely through the sky. Applause erupted, not because people suddenly became good, but because exposed injustice makes cowardice uncomfortable. Pamela stared forward, hands trembling in a seat far from first class, watching Naomi sip tea with serenity she could not counterfeit. Later, a young flight attendant approached Naomi privately, eyes glassy with remorse, whispering, "I should have defended your right to be here. I'm sorry I didn't." Naomi looked at her, not with softness that erases harm, but with strength that teaches. Don't be sorry you were silent. Be sorry if you stay silent next time. The woman nodded, something awakening behind her ribs. Growth often begins where shame ends. When the plane landed, media waited. Cameras, microphones, hungry headlines. But Naomi didn't seek spotlight. She granted one interview, speaking not of humiliation, but of change. Respect should be the default, not a privilege granted after identity is revealed. Her words spread like electricity across the industry, sparking training reform, diversity policy restructuring, accountability measures airlines could no longer delay. As she stepped into her waiting car, Naomi glimpsed Pamela in the terminal, smaller now, humbled not by status loss, but by perspective gained. She approached hesitantly, voice quiet as wind through glass. "I was wrong, not because you're powerful, but because you are a person I refuse to see." Naomi nodded gently, grace without erasure, forgiveness without forgetting. She walked away, legacy taller than any seat, proof that power doesn't shout, it remains.